Rundown Special Edition. I'm Dom Hester.
Jacob Geyser.
We got a special edition talking bracketology today. So I guess we'll start off with our top 4 teams right now.
So my number one is probably Oklahoma. They've been probably the best team all year, even though they have lost one game. They're still the best team. They're probably the best one-loss team that we have in NCAA basketball this year. Probably Villanova is my number 2. They're number 2 in the RPI rankings, but they're my number 2. And then I'll follow that with UNC is my number 3, and then my number 4 seed. I hate to say it, but I think XU is probably my number 4 seed this year, just because the fact that they've been one of the most consistent teams all year. They have.
Right.
The one loss was a blowout to Villanova.
They got murdered.
Villanova shut the lights out of the gym that day. But yeah, as a UC fan, I hate to say it, but I think X is actually going to get its first number 1 seed in the tournament this year. So that's my 4.
But I think the important thing is they will not win a national championship this year.
No, I can agree with you on that one. I don't think they will this year.
But I think the thing is with this year, it's chaos. It really is. There's top 5 teams losing every week. I think Xavier's done a really good job of staying consistent for the most part.
Yeah.
And I think right now, Oklahoma's probably my favorite to win it all. I'm jumping the gun a little bit there,
yeah.
but I think right now they're the most full team. They got the best player in the country, I believe. And,
yeah.
But other than that, I think Villanova's a great team. UNC's one of those teams, and Xavier are probably my top teams.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so then we'll go to the local teams. We've already kind of covered XU. We think XU's the number 1 seed. They got a lot of great wins this year. The RPI's up there. They're beating the teams that they have to beat. And I think at this point right now in the season, a lot of these teams in the top 5, top 10, top 15 are losing to teams that they may not, should not be losing to.
Right.
It's hurting it's just hurting them at this point in the year. But obviously we still have about halfway of the season left to go. So
right.
We'll go to who we care about most right now. We'll go to UC. So UC this year, they're having a pretty good year, not to the standards that we would have hoped. We would have hoped for a better year, probably ranked at this point in time. But I think what has hurt them the most so far and why they have to win these games is just the fact that they struggled in December. And the loss that they had in December, Iowa State, Xavier, and Butler, those are wins that if they get those wins, it's not, I would say they're on the bubble right now just because they don't really have one great win. You can't really call UConn a great win. They're like 16 in the RPI,
right.
But if you had Iowa State, who's been in the top 20 all year, and you have X, who at one point was the number 1 ranked RPI team, and then Butler, who slowly has dropped, but the win would have helped at that point in time. They'll beat USF on Thursday, I think.
Yeah.
Which they should.
They're favored by like 95.
Yeah,
so.
they just can't have any bad loss, I think, for me. So if UC can get the job done the rest of the year and not lose teams that they're not supposed to, maybe you can afford a loss to SMU, but that, at the same time, they need that win really badly just because of the fact that is a great RPI win, and they're kind of looking for that one really big RPI win.
Right, and I think the thing with UC is the conference tournament is so winnable now with SMU not being allowed to play in it, so that has to be taken into account. But for the rest of the year, I think they have a couple of tough games. UConn again, SMU, and so you can drop maybe one more of those, I'd say.
Yeah.
But the teams like USF. Whatever.
UCF and all
all
those teams.
All the American teams, pretty much, you have to beat.
Yeah.
We knew December coming in was going to be tough,
Yeah.
Butler, Iowa State, and Xavier. But, stuff happens. They got a lot of losses, but I think they're recovering slowly, and I think they're going to maybe make a run in this March. So
I think the key for them right now is if you get hot at the right time. They didn't really get hot at all, they still have that chance. I think if you get hot at the right time, especially heading into March, in the tournament, that helps out a lot. We'll go to UK.
It's very struggling to watch because one week they show you they promise Scala BCA doesn't look like a bum, and then they lose to Tennessee, blowing like a 25-point lead. So it's very frustrating. I think I hate to say it, but I think they're on the bubble right now. They have impressive wins over Louisville and Duke right now, but I don't think Duke's. I think Duke's on the bubble too. They played Kansas really tough at Kansas, which is impossible to win at. Took them to overtime. So, I don't know. Kentucky, they really have to win out, I think.
Yeah. I think going on to that topic, so we'll kind of transition to the second part here is teams like UK and Duke. The name alone is going to give you more, I think, more chances, I guess, to say to prove yourself. they definitely benefited last year. UK did from all the talent that they had. But
Right.
Duke, obviously coming off national championship, this year they have not performed. Neither team has performed really well. Right now, for me, the analysts think they're fine, they'll be fine. But I think that right now they had to go in the bubble just because of the fact that, I mean, if you look at them, I see a difference in the name, but if you look at a team like, I hate to compare UC to Duke and Kentucky, but they don't really have that one big, great win. They've played teams tough, but in the end, that may not really, that doesn't really give you any credit, I think.
Right.
And it doesn't, the people don't really care about that. The community doesn't care about that. So
I think that when it comes down time for the committee to choose, I think you have to put all those points into perspective, and I think it's going to be interesting who they pick, and it's also going to be interesting to see how these teams finish. Coming down the end of the year.
I think that by the end of the year they'll be better. I mean, they'll be fine. They'll right the ship. But I mean, right now, I don't think you can say that they're a lock for the tournament.
Right.
Now. If they're in right now in bubble watches and whatnot, bracketologies, by like Joe Lenardi and Jeff Palm, they definitely had to be like in that 8, 9, 10 range in the seeding. They should not be any higher than that.
Right.
And then another team we'll talk about who just played Oklahoma really well was LSU. They get a lot of attention because of Ben Simmons and how great he is, and he's had a really great year actually. For them, do you think that they're in? I mean, they're one of those teams I think, other than like these smaller teams that really don't catch anybody's attention. Do you think that they're a team that gets in right now?
I think, based on their resume right now, I do not think so. I think, having Ben Simmons, if they would have beat Oklahoma, this would be a different story. But, they have a lot of terrible losses early in the season. They've gotten better as the season's gone on. Ben Simmons is amazing. Definitely the number one pick. But as a team, I don't think they should be in unless, they could honestly run the table in the SEC tournament and win I wouldn't be surprised if they won the tournament. But I think if you're going by their resume right now, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think for me that is one of those things where if LSU beat Oklahoma, they're in for sure, and they can't really afford a bad loss. But if they win the rest of the games that they're supposed to win in the SEC, they'd be fine. But they're a team that they had bad losses at the beginning of the year, and they've ridden Ben Simmons for as long as they can. He's a great player. He cannot carry the whole team because of what his skill set is. So I think they're out right now, but they have the potential to get in just because of the fact that if you look at the SEC, that is a wide open.
It's the Wild West right now. It's everyone. I think A&M's a really solid squad. Kentucky.
Now the only sleeper that we have is Monmouth. That's the only sleeper that we have. They have really good wins at the beginning of the season. We'll go to who do you think is the player of the year this year?
I have to say Buddy Hield.
Because you hear it all the time. Is it Ben Simmons versus Buddy Hield? For me, I think it's good. Ben Simmons is a great player. But you have to give credit for Buddy Hield because if you look at the improvement that he's had all 4 years, he stayed all 4 years, which is a shock. And not a lot of people do that.
Right.
He's been the best player all year, and he's shooting almost 50% from behind the arc, which is ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, making half your threes, that's remarkable. In the team itself, you can see feeds off him. He means a lot to the team. I mean, he's a huge part of the offense. So is Ben Simmons. But if you look at what they've done, if Ben Simmons was, he's great, but if he was greater, the team would LSU wouldn't be this team that's on the bubble. It would be Buddy Hield. I mean, Buddy Hield's team is in the field and probably is favorite to the national title.
Right, and you look at the teams Oklahoma's played this year, and the teams that LSU's played. Yeah, LSU played Oklahoma, they played Kentucky, but
the Big 12
is awesome
loaded with
this year.
talent.
And Oklahoma and Buddy Hield, he's been great, and he's led Oklahoma. And I think they're the best in college basketball. So I think you have to give the Player of the Year to him just because of what they've done as a team this year.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. So that will do for this edition of Bracketology. We'll see you guys later.